Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Look at all these amazing faces popping in. Hey, Aubrey. Hey, Jesse. Oh my gosh, I couldn't possibly say hello to everyone. Hello, everyone. Happy New Year.
We made it. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
2022. Oh my gosh. And just am I crazy, or is it actually January 12th and that slide says January 11th? Is it me?
Wow.
January 12th.
For interpretation.
I just looked at my phone and I was like, I know I just got back from vacation, but I feel like there was a day, there's a day there that was missed.
I'm sure there's some kind of argument for a leap year in there somewhere.
Oh my gosh. All right, we are at 81. Katie, we're at 81 amazing family members. So you guys, we are going to kick this thing off. So welcome to 2022 and our very, very, very first state of the industry of the new year. So of course, we have an incredible lineup. We've got all of our leaders across the network on the call today. Katie and I are going to be your co-hosts on this amazing ride. And of course, new year means that we have some incredible announcements and some winners to congratulate today. We've got some incredible economic updates, and of course we are going to anchor this with the amazing Chris Suarez. So stay tuned. Remember, please engage in that chat. Keep yourself on mute unless we want to get to a question part, but light up that chat and we are here to help do this. So Katie, ready to rock?
Ready to go.
We mixed things up. You are not going to hear market stats from me today. I know that you're all excited about that. So I get the honor and the privilege of telling you how we did as an experienced brokerage network in 2021. The stats are in, the official reports are out. So we are going to release to you all the incredible things that we did as a united network throughout the state of Oregon. So let's kick this thing off. Next slide, Katie. All right, you guys, in 2021, we welcomed 257 new family members to our network and our market centers across the state. So you got to see all of them pop up in your market centers on Zooms, but 257 new additions to our experienced brokerage network family. So with our total agents across the state, we closed 7,354 homes and properties sold in 2021. So whoop, whoop, over 7,300. So what did that really mean for you? We set records, of course, in volume, and we closed over $3.4 billion and closed sales volume in a single year. Of course, that is with a B. And most importantly, we set records again for increase of per agent, increase of volume sold. The average percentage of per agent volume increase across the state was 13.74% increase per agent. So huge, huge wins, not only in our closed units and our closed volumes, but also each of our agents is closing on average more. So that, of course, is broken down to one of the most important things. We're working together. Katie's controlling slides. Teamwork makes the dream work. One of the most important numbers on the board was listings taken. We had tons and tons and tons of conversations about listings taken. And of course, as a united network, we threw down to help increase that inventory and make properties available for people to purchase in a much needed year. As a network, we took 3,678 listings for over a $1.7 billion volume. So huge congratulations. And of course, that will continue to be the big conversation in 2022. All right, next one, Katie. With all of that, of course, you can probably guess that we also threw down a record year in GCI. So our agents are earning more than ever. We distributed over $84 million in gross commission income in the year of 2021. And once again, a huge win in our per agent production amount, with the average increase of GCI across the network being 10.5% increase for each of our agents. All right, so we did production, we did units, we did volumes, we did listings, we did GCI, and of course that all comes down to profit. Once again, we threw down an incredible year and distributed over $893,000 in profit share back to you, our partners and shareholders, in a single year. Now, I've been tracking this over time, and I'm really excited about the next slide, because that means with that cumulative number, that as a network, we have given back in profit share a total of over $10,700,000 in profit share in our network back to you as our stakeholders. So huge congratulations on an incredible, epic year, setting records, and we're excited to see where 2022 takes us. Now, one of the ways that we will determine where 2022 takes us is how many listings, because I always say she who controls the listings controls the market. So we are closing out our fourth quarter takeover results, and we're going to honor today those of you in each of our market centers and throughout the network that threw down in the fourth quarter on our third annual fourth quarter takeover listing competition. The results are in, and we are ready to announce our fourth quarter winners. I'm going to welcome to the call each of our team leaders, amazing CEOs in our locations, to do your individuals. So first up, we're going to start with Southern Oregon. Kaylee, are you on the call to announce your winners? Where's she at? Oh my gosh, is she having a tech problem? Katie, is she on the call?
She's here.
I'm here.
There you are. Hey, Carrie, you ready to tell us how Southern Oregon did?
Pull those up. Let's show them. You guys, this is an amazing group of leaders, and I have to tell you, I am so excited to announce that our rookie doesn't exist, because we have experienced brokers. Our solo agent is Josh Kelleher with 18 listings total. Josh is an amazing agent. If you haven't been able to co-op with him yet, you need to reach out. Our team is Walker and Carly Kruger Walker Commode team. And group is the Patch team. Lori Patch and her crew with 7 listings total.
Congratulations to our Southern Oregon winners. We'll see how you how that fared on the network level. We are ready to announce our winners from, next up is Eugene, right, Katie?
Yep.
Eugene, all right, we are going to welcome to the call, for those of you who have not had a chance to meet him, our newest team leader and CEO to the network, Mr. Mike Irwin. How did our people do in Eugene?
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for that welcome. It's wonderful to see everyone this morning. Good morning from Eugene, Springfield. Our rookies, we have Nassim Hamid and Lauren Graham. Our solo, the amazing Nick Nelson. The team, the Ben Mondragon team, and the group, the Josh Cooley team. These are all amazing leaders, and we congratulate them for their hard work and great efforts. 2021.
Awesome, some amazing numbers. All right, next up on the board, my slides might be out of order, so correct me if I'm wrong. We've got Salem, Capital City. Sarah, tell us about your winners.
So excited. It was a fierce race till the end, and we are so proud. Lisa Ann Brown bringing it in strong with 4 listings as our solo representative. We've got the Cornerstone team anchored with Yolanda out in Dallas with 6 listings, and our own Benson Broker Group with 19 listings total. You guys have so much to be proud about.
Awesome. All right. That leaves us, before we announce the network winners, with our final market center. Jake, tell us how we did up in Sunset Corridor.
All right, good morning. So our rookie is Noe Orozco with 1 listing taken. Our solo is Heather Wright out in the Dalles with 8 listings total. Kristen Rader is our team coming in with 7. Darren Darcy Real Estate Group is our winner in our group category with 7 also taken. So great job, everybody. I know we had a lot of fun with our door up and putting keys up.
Awesome. Yep, we love seeing those doors across the state with all of those keys. So if you've been following along, you may already know who the winners are, but Katie, let's pull it up. On a network level, a huge congratulations to our top performers throughout the network. Our rookie category, we have ties, of course, 3-way tie. Congratulations, Nasim, who had held that from the very beginning. So congratulations, Lauren Graham and Noe Orozco taking our rookie category. Out of Southern Oregon with 18 listings total, Josh Kelleher. Thank you so much for that much needed inventory down there. And of course, our team category, the Kristen Rader Group out of Sunset Corridor with 7 listings, and throwing down in Salem Capital City, the Benson Broker Group with 19 listings total. So huge congratulations, you guys, for our closing out our 3rd year. So let's throw up what the total impact across the state was, Katie. There it is, you guys. In the 4th quarter of 2021, as a network, we took a total of 420 listings. Sunset Corridor taking the prize for the highest number of listings in a market center with 147 listings, Eugene with 122, Capital City with 93, and Southern Oregon with 60. However, important to note that all of our market centers are different sizes. So we want to give a special shout out to Southern Oregon, our smallest market center, coming in with the highest listing count per agent, followed by Capital City, followed by Eugene and Sunset. And so that is 0.8 listings per agent we have throughout the network. So, whew, I feel like that was a lot of celebration to kick off the new year. Now it's time
to start with celebration always.
All right, you guys, we are excited to do that. Stay tuned for more production competitions that we'll be having throughout the year. We want to keep you guys engaged and interacting with each other. And we're going to continue to have that conversations around listings in 2022. So, with that, Katie, I think it's time for us to talk a little economics and industry stats, right?
I mean, it is called the state of the industry. So at some point we should probably talk about the industry. And I am excited to share some numbers with you guys around industry. I will give the disclaimer that I am not a professional economist. I just know where to go to find numbers. So a lot of these stats are coming from Keller Williams market updates and National Association of Realtors statistics, which something to note about that is stats are always lagging. So December stats don't even come out until the end of this month. So we're looking at November numbers. However, my prediction would be that December would be similar to November. So the conversation won't change. It's just when you see November 2021, and that was 2 months ago, it's because that's where we're at with our statistics. Okay. So let's get started and start the conversation talking about existing home sales. And existing means just not a new home sale. So a resale home. And in November of 2021, we saw 6.46 million home sales. And again, this is an NAR stat, which was up 1.9% from last month or October of 2021 and down 2% from last year. And anytime we say down, it's like, man. However, anytime you see a 6 at the beginning of this number, it's a good thing. And the other perspective, if you remember, we talked economics a couple months ago and seasonality, and how last year's seasonality was so different, and a lot of our production was pushed towards the end of the year. So we had an abnormal fourth quarter last year. So when we're looking at these numbers and saying, yes, we're down in existing home sales from November of last year, I wouldn't actually get down about that. It's normal because of the year that we had, and we'll still end the year better than 2020. So nothing to be concerned about there. Median existing home price, and these are national numbers. So yes, 353,900 is the November median existing home price on a national level. However, the story I want you to hear in this is that it's 117 months in a row that we've seen year-over-year price increases. It's actually a 13.9% price increase. So, and there's nothing on the horizon that economists are seeing that's going to change that increase. It's going to continue to increase. The challenge there is affordability. The rate at which it's climbing, the median home price is climbing, pushes home ownership out of the range for more people. However, as we see a equilibrium in supply and demand, that rate at which it climbs should slow. So there's a little bit of hope in that if we can get some more listings on the market, that the rate at which this number climbs will slow, but there's no sign that it won't continue to go up. And a question that always comes up in this category is, are home prices going to go backward, or is the new COVID variant going to impact this? And what the chief economist for Keller Williams said is we haven't seen COVID have an effect on prices so far. Not to say that it couldn't, but in the 2 years that we've been like, oh man, what's going to happen? We haven't seen that yet. So if that's any indication, then maybe not. Okay, let's move on to existing home inventory. And I didn't put a national stat on this one just because it's so off from what our national statistics are. And I'm in Portland, and I know that last week I saw a bunch of Facebook posts about the 0.6 months of inventory. And so I'm curious what Salem, Medford, and Eugene are at. And I would imagine it's low because we've talked about this every month over month, we're low on inventory. And another, like a side note to existing home inventory that's worth mentioning is if you pull up the National Association of Realtors stats, and I'll send this to you, they graph out what type of buyers are buying the inventory. And the number that was creeping up was cash purchases, and it's at 24% of all sales, which is high. It was 17% pre-pandemic, and that's just a sign of the market tightening. Buyers need to have a competitive advantage, so cash is something that they can, for those who can afford or those who have the cash to purchase, it's increasing what the percentages are on types of financing. So when we talk about affordability a little bit later, that'll come up. And something else to note, and I know that like this is the thing that I say every time, and Keller Williams Chief of Economists echoed this statement, so I felt like I needed to say it again. And that is that this isn't saying like Portland 0.6 months of inventory. That's not saying there's no inventory. We had 6 million home sales in the month of November. So there's still inventory. It's just that there's not enough inventory. So I caution the conversation about, oh my goodness, there's no homes on the market, for the scare tactic for buyers or sellers, or for sellers to put their home on the market, but then it creates a fear of not being able to find something to buy. So I would balance that conversation. Yes, we have low inventory, and 6 million homes sold in November. So just something to think about. Okay, pace of sales. So on a national level, the average home is average property sells in 18 days, or is on the market for 18 days, and 82% of homes on the market sold in less than 30 days. So what I would do with this number is you use it if your numbers are better. So say on a national level, this is what you can, or this is what we're seeing, and here's how I get your home sold faster, or here's my average days on market, or my office's average days on market. So I would use this as a benchmark to make yourself look really good. Pending sales. So this is an interesting one. This is an index. So when it says 122.4, this is an index, and they use the year 2001 as their benchmark year, which was 4.2 million properties pending. So anytime you see a number over 100, or anytime we're on pace to beat that 4.2 million, the number is over 100. So 122.4 is a great number. The only time we've seen it go below 100 is during the lockdown period. So this is a steady number, and a steady number in the right direction. However, I will say that it's down 2.2% from last month, and down 2.7% from last year. But again, last year was abnormal seasonality, so take that for what it is. Single family home starts. I feel like this has been a conversation for a really long time of there's not enough homes, or we're not building homes at a fast enough rate for the need or for the demand. And so this is a number that always lags, but in October 2021, there was 1,039,000 single family home starts, which the story here is the long-term average is 1 million, which means that we're eating away at the shortage, but just slightly. It's not high, or it's not as high as it should be. And the pandemic didn't help us in this category. I know we're all aware of like the supply chain shortages. If you tried to purchase anything over the holidays and it was delayed or didn't get to you in time, manufacturing delays, labor issues are all causing builders to not want to start homes that they can't finish. And so the question came up, that is this the new normal? Like, should we just expect delays? Should we expect that there's going to be labor issues and supply chain issues? And the head of research for KW said, no, he doesn't think this is the new normal. The question is, when will we go back to some sort of normal? And that leads to builder confidence. And this is, builders are 83, like they have a high confidence level. And this is great because they also think that this isn't the new normal. And this number is actually up from 80% last month. So they're getting more confident. Last year at this time, it was 90%. So they were the highest confidence that the index has ever recorded last year. But again, like it was a time when we were seeing a lot more activity for that time of year. Also, one of the pluses to COVID or to a pandemic was that at that time, we had low interest rates, and the pandemic promoted household savings. Like we weren't going on vacations, we weren't going out to eat, we weren't spending outside of our home. And so it gave builders extra confidence, but 83% is still a really, really good number. Affordability is one I always like to talk about, 148.2, which is, this again is another number that lags a little bit, but it's down 2.3% from last year and down 11%, or down 2.3% from last month, down 11% from last year, which isn't a surprise given the increase in home prices. So again, this is another one that lags home prices. And long-term, this is a number that is not predicted to go backwards. Like things aren't getting more affordable. And there are actually more scenarios where this number goes up. and one of those being raising interest rates. Okay, 2 more categories I want to talk about quickly. Distressed sales. I think last year this was a big conversation of, oh no, are we going to see a repeat of 2008? Are we going to see more foreclosures, especially with the forbearance? And it's not, this number isn't changing. It's still less than 1% of home sales are distressed. So, so far, not a big thing. And with the end of the moratorium, we did see a few foreclosures, but still a historic low. So nothing to be concerned about. And as we wind down the mortgage forbearance, it seems to be going well. I know if you've watched any of Keller Williams' economic updates, one of their economists said, well, we'll see what happens when we start to see these mortgages come due. And it's not creating any sort of distress or not enough distress to be of concern. And to the question, will we see a repeat of 2008? The chief economist for Keller Williams said the biggest difference from last time is the presence of institutional investors who are willing to buy properties in bulk. So that's a way for lenders or banks to off those loans is we have institutional investors who will buy those. And we don't have the creativity that we had last time, and values are still there. So if there's any concern about this, all signs point to, at this point, not a big concern. Okay, and I want to end on this one because I thought this was an interesting perspective. First-time home buyers made up 34%. Every year, NAR does a great survey on home buyers and sellers. And so 30% of all home buyers in 2021 were first-time home buyers, which is a good number. And some reasons for this may be low interest rates, COVID causing better personal savings, and the ability, like the remote work aspect, allowing first-time homebuyers to go farther away from their job's location to find cheaper housing could have caused first-time homebuyers to enter the market. However, the long-term average is 40%. So we're low on that scale. However, we haven't seen that 40% number since about 2010 when the first-time homebuyer credit went away. So we've been on a downward trajectory since then. But the fact that we're at 34% is good. When the number trends down, just for perspective, what that affects is it delays household formation or delays home purchases, which means in the lifetime of the consumer, they're just buying fewer houses. So when you're thinking about being their realtor for life, if they're not starting that process until later in their life, then it just means maybe 2 instead of 3 homes or whatever their plans are. So these are just a few economic stats. I am excited because next month, I'll bring up the cool little, oh, no, not that cool little, this cool little, this graphic. So next month, family reunion. I'm sure it's on all of your radars that if you're going in person in Orlando, there's still tickets, or if you want to go in person in Orlando, there is still tickets. But the best economic update of the year is Gary Keller's economic update at family reunion. So if you love numbers or you want to add some analytics to your listing and buyers presentations or to your marketing, I would not miss, in some way, shape, or form, get to that presentation. So either go in person or buy a digital ticket to family reunion, because truly it's the best presentation of the year. Like, I will not miss it. I was on maternity leave this year and I still went because it's that good. So any questions about economic updates? I see there's a bunch of stuff in the chat. I'll go and check that out, but I hope that helped with some conversations with your buyers and sellers and your database. And the real man of the hour now, Chris Suarez.
You can stop sharing your screen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Leslie and Katie. Yeah, some of that data, obviously, our goal is to use data, interpret it into the conversations that'll help us, whether it's driving a decision of one of our clients, whether buyer or seller, or just showing up to that table in an educated way. I have found that the best way to win clients, especially in the market that we're in, is to show up as a consultant. And so using some of that data in the conversations that you have around your open houses, using that data at a seller's table, using that data in the buyer consultation, more and more our customers and our clients are going to want to work with consultants and well-educated real estate professionals. And that is what's going to keep us at the forefront of the industry, or at the center of the industry as well. So for the rest of the morning, I wanted to talk about this word commitment. So as you hear that word, what do you think of? How do you define commitment? You can put it in the chat box. I have my chat box open, so I will be reading that. What other words relate to commitment when it relates to us and our professions, our careers? Sarah says commitment means you're all in. We're driven. We have our leaders sharing what their definition of commitment. Yeah, you're right. You're the one that's giving. You're putting your neck on the line is another way to use Matt's expression. You know, it's interesting. I think commitment is being willing to do things that we at times don't want to do, which causes us to take a step back and say, well, gosh, how does commitment lead to freedom? If the more and more committed I am, or the more commitments that I make, it feels like I'm giving up some of that freedom. But I want to have a conversation with our group today that I had with just a few of our teams over the last week. And it was this word that I came across in reading Frankl's book, Say Yes to Life. Many of you have read Viktor Frankl's first book, Mankind's Search for Meaning. After his death, his family found just a lot of essays and writings that he wrote, and they've now put together this follow-up book. But in his books, he uses this word prospection. And to be honest, when I first heard it, I thought, well, I'm not really sure what that means. And so I just sort of dove in and began to look at, well, what is prospection? What does the theory of prospection actually mean? And prospection is our viewpoint of the future, right? Whatever view you have of your future, that is what is driving our present. And that might sound like just a random statement or sort of a pithy little thing to say, like we see memes and these expressions or statements, but the reality is, when we take a step back and we think about that in relationship to our business, every single one of us, whatever view we have of our future, that is what is driving our present. And that is probably one of the more powerful things that we can sort of internalize and think about and write down in our notebooks as we start 2022. Human beings are not products of the past. They are products of the future that they have set in front of themselves. And I think this is really powerful, because some of us come out of the greatest year that we've ever had in real estate, right? And because of that, we like, some feel like, well, gosh, it's going to happen again, right? That's it. It happened this year. It's going to happen next year. Others may feel like, gosh, this was a really tough year, right? 98% of my business has been. I'm not sure I understand. Whoa, Siri, that was my watch. Let me teach you to understand, Siri. Some of us, 98% of our business is buyers, and listen, it's tough. It was tough. We talked about the number of listings. We talked about inventory. We talked about the importance of absorption, like how quick is the inventory getting absorbed, and were your buyers the one that absorbed it, but maybe they weren't. And so we think about what the past was, or our past success, or the past results, or maybe, gosh, we had a good run in the last month. We ended December just off, or we started January slow, or our pipeline just doesn't look like we think it should. And if we're not careful, we will believe that we are products of our past. Like, this is why so much work is done, kind of uncovering all the baggage that we bring to the table from our past. But listen, the reality is we are products of the future that we have set in front of ourselves. And there's no better person to really define this, teach us about this, help us internalize it than Viktor Frankl, right? For those of you who don't know, he was an Austrian psychiatrist, and he was an Auschwitz survivor, and that taught him a lot. But what it really taught him is what's called meaning therapy. He realized that in order to have meaning, or a different future, or even an expected future, we have to apply meaning therapy to our life. He said there was a moment, and not to get too deep and dark, but he said there was a moment in the camps where this really hit home. And he was on his way to work one day, and he said, I was just really, really worrying whether I should trade my last cigarette for a bowl of soup. Like, do I choose this cigarette, right? Not a good habit, by the way, but do I choose this cigarette, or do I take the bowl of soup? And he said, then I thought, well, gosh, am I going to be able to work with the new foreman? Because man, he is particularly sadistic. Like, how is that going to go today? And he said, suddenly he was, quote, disgusted by just how trivial and meaningless his life had become. And he realized that in order to survive, he had to find bigger meaning than a cigarette and a bowl of soup, or bigger meaning than whether or not he was going to deal with the foreman that day. And that is where he began to think of himself and look for ways every single day to find something that he said, I am going to be a lecturer when I get out of here. I am going to use my experience here to teach people outside of the camp. And all of a sudden, guess what happened? He had a different viewpoint of the future. In fact, he gave himself a future. It got super clear. And so on the other side of the camp, because yes, he survived, he said what that led to, this meaning therapy has 3 parts. And I think it's great for life, but it's also wildly important in our business, right? As we set up for the new year, if we are going to apply his thinking and his theory and his life's work, we need 3 things. He said we have to have a clear goal. We have to have a pathway. So it was goal, pathway, and a pathway is a process. Right? So I'm going to bring back commitment in just a minute, but we have to have a pathway. And here's the third one, which is a little bit difficult at times in real estate. We have to have a sense of agency. What is agency? What does agency mean? If you have a sense of agency, it's in parentheses. It's control. Yes.
I thought it was a trick question, Chris. I was like,
it's control. You can chat it. So we have to have a goal, a pathway, and agency. Now, what's really important for each of us, yeah, Sarah, responsibility. And it's actually more than responsibility. I would say responsibility is process. Like, I have the responsibility to execute this process, like these activities that I know I have signed up for. I can do. I've told you I can do them. I told myself I can do them. I have a very clear process, but do I have agency? Agency, Mike, you're right, is personal ownership. Agency says, yes, I can own that. And I actually believe that I can impact it, right? That's why impossible goals, like, you might have it. It might be clear. You might say this is the pathway there, but if you truly don't believe that you have agency over the activities, you will not move towards that future, and we'll get stuck in our past, good, bad, or indifferent. Every behavior is based on achieving a goal. Well, that's an interesting statement from Frankel. Every behavior is based on achieving a goal. Interestingly enough, every behavior or the behavior that we don't do is based on achieving a goal. Now, what was your goal that day? See, if I showed up and I said, okay, well, I have a goal. It's very clear. I have a pathway. My pathway is to today it's about making contact with 20 of my past clients. Awesome. Do I have agency over that? Absolutely. Do I have agency over what I say? Absolutely. Do I have agency about if I'm going to connect with them and make that contact? Yeah, I actually do. It might not be 20 calls to 20 contacts. It might be 50 or it might be 100, but guess what? You can do any of that. That is agency. Now, I may decide that, oh gosh, like not today. I don't know who's on daytime TV, but I'm going to stay home and watch daytime TV today. Well, that's a behavior. Like you chose that behavior and you had a goal to relax. You had a goal to take it easy. You had a goal to avoid any rejection. You had a goal of just like, whatever your goal was, every behavior is based on achieving a goal. So that's pretty awesome. Like at the end of the day, I can ask myself like, hey, like what did my behavior tell myself that my goal was today? Did I live into the goals that I set that were clear? Was I willing to take the journey down that pathway? And did I really have agency, or did I convince myself that I don't really control that? I don't really control that. Be connected to your future self. Viktor Frankl said in the new book, yes, he said, we need a higher sense of purpose and goal that gives our present context. Now, let me just unpackage that for a second. Nobody likes to work without context. Anybody like to just show up and do activities, not really knowing what that activity is for, what it's going to amount to, not sure if it means anything to anybody else around me. Like, interestingly enough, it doesn't matter what role we play in the real estate transaction. Maybe you're a transaction coordinator, which means you're coming in and you're looking for the same signatures every day. You're looking for the same documents every day. You're setting up dates for people that you support, clients and agents. Well, guess what? Like there's massive context in that. Like you control our world. Like you absolutely move that transaction through the flow of process. I mean, there is massive context. However, if we don't gain that context, if we don't make contacts with the agents that we're supporting and the consumer and customer and buyer and seller that we're supporting, or the professionals around, like as we orchestrate that, like make context, because if we don't have context, then we will not have a higher purpose. And guess what? Then it doesn't matter what we do. We have zero agency because there's no context. When it comes to the psychology of meaning, present activity has no meaning if it is not connected to the future, right? If you believe, even as an agent, that I'm going to come in, I'm going to open up the database, I'm going to get my list, I'm going to hop on a dialer. Like if you believe that there is no context to the future in that activity, I promise you, you will not do the activity for very long. Now, if we devalue any part of that three-step process, we are in trouble, right? Because if we devalue goal setting, then we don't have the clear goal. If we're devaluing the future, then the process doesn't matter. If we're devaluing an outcome, it'll cause us to lose meaning or feel like we have no agency. And that's what happened in Auschwitz, right? Many people died of just sheer lack of agency, right? They started out with a goal, fair. They started out with a path of survival. They knew, they figured out like, what is it going to take to survive? Not everybody, right? But agency was taken away. That is how you beat human beings, right? That is how you destroy human intention and soul. It's to take away agency. If we believe that we do not have agency in any area of our business, I promise we will disconnect from any area of, I meant any area of our life, but any area of our life, but we will disconnect. So if you lose agency in business, if we don't connect a result to the activity, we will disconnect because that won't provide any purpose. Look at football. A football player comes into practice and practices every day. If it wasn't connected to a future, if it wasn't connected to game day on Sunday or Monday or whatever day they play football now, it seems like it's every day. If it's not connected to the game, I promise you, they're not going to show up like they do in practice. It's massive. right? Do we value goal setting? Do we value the future? Do we value an outcome? If not, we're going to have a problem. And so this is where expectancy theory shows up. Like, this is a theory that should be part of our worlds and our lives and our businesses. And if we lead people, interestingly enough, you have an obligation to them to make sure that they continue with this expectancy theory in their world, in their day, in their week, in their month, in their year, where people get distracted, or where people sort of lose sight of the goal, right? Like, maybe it's January 12th, like maybe it's March, maybe it's in June, maybe it's in September and October. It's because the goal got fuzzy, the pathway got fuzzy, and the agency got fuzzy. But the expectancies theory has these three things: that clear goal, a pathway thinking. We have to think in pathways. We have to think in activities. It is why the GPS is sort of the basis of everything I do. Like the GPS, like that goal, priority, and strategy was how I have built any business that I've gone in to succeed in, or I wanted to be part of, or move the needle in. Having a very clear goal, having a very clear pathway, and then making sure that anybody that is going to walk down a path has agency. Do you think you can do this? Is anything going to prevent you from doing this? Will anything get in the way from you doing this? Like, all those questions get this constant confirmation. No, I can do that. Nothing's going to prevent me. No, there's no reason why I can't do that. It's agency. Provide questions for yourself to take agency. Like, what if you're not on track, or you feel a little bit lost, or we got lost along the journey in 2021? It is just one of these three things is missing. So it's a great internal conversation to have, or it's a great conversation to have with people that rely on us to lead them. Okay, well, what was my goal again? Let's make that clear. What was the pathway? Let's review what we know. What we know without a shadow of a doubt will lead to that goal. And let's talk about my agency around that. Like, can I control it? Is there help that I need from someone else? Is someone else contributing to that? Okay, well then guess what? That's an agency conversation with them if you care enough about that goal. Expectancy theory shows up in a lot of behavioral psychologists' work. Angela Duckworth, I think, is one of the, I love that. I mean, quite honestly, the behavioral psychology world has shifted. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but it used to be in the 50s and the 60s, the majority of them were all men. And thank God for a shift, because the majority of amazing behavioral psychologists right now, they're women. Right? You think of the Carol Dwecks of the world and the Angela Duckworths of the world. Angela says maturity is committing to key pathways on your way to achieving a goal, while also uncommitting to pathways that are not contributing. So here's the deal. If I can't commit, what does that make me? I think we all agree that Angela's pretty awesome, right? Like, if you haven't read her book, Grit, like, read it, right? Or listen, let's just listen to her interviews. One of the most brilliant people. I love listening to her speak. But she says committing to key pathways, right? And uncommitting to other pathways. If we don't do that, what does that make us? If this is an equation, and the equal sign of equation is defined by the word is, on the other side of the equation, if you don't do it, you're immature. Own it, right? If I can't commit to a key pathway, if I have a GPS in front of me, if I have a goal and I have a priority, I say, yes, this is the priority to get to that goal. The pathway is that strategy, and I have agency. Then if I don't, I'm just being immature. And none of us here are immature most of the time. I can be immature. But in this world, in the business world, I need to make sure I exhibit maturity, committing to key pathways on my way to achieving a goal, while also uncommitting to pathways that are just not contributing. That's tough too, right? Because we like to see the world the way that we see it, not the way that it is. We like to believe that this pathway of what I do over here, well, this is going to be my pathway to achieving that goal. I just need to be a great human being, and man, the business will just show up. Like, people will want to join me. People will want to be part of what I'm doing. Like, my energy is just infectious. Well, guess what? That may not be the pathway. Now, please be a great human. Be infectious with your energy. Always come from contribution, but that might not be the pathway to your goal. Right? We may have to uncommit to certain pathways and look at other strategies. And this is where this conversation shows up around once we commit to a clear goal, and once we commit to the pathway, and once we commit that, yes, I have agency, like I'm gonna own this, that does lead to freedom. It is, people don't like to commit to things, right? I have people in my world like, well, that's 2 weeks away. I don't know if I want to put that in my calendar. I'm just not gonna, I don't know where I'm gonna be. Put it in your calendar, because commitment leads to freedom. Like, if we knock this out and it's in the calendar and I've committed to it, well, then guess what? I have freedom before that and after that and the next day and the day before, but I'm going to commit to doing this that day. Commitment creates freedom. When you make a commitment, you get the freedom that comes along with that commitment. One, the freedom that comes along with achieving that goal, and two, the freedom that comes along about getting that done. So when you actually stick with that commitment, it not only frees you from decision fatigue, which is probably where like this industry is difficult, because we feel like we have to make so many decisions every day. Well, what do I do now? Where's the next piece of business? Like, who do I talk to? Who is the best lead? Who should I follow up with? What activity should I do? Should I do that open house this Saturday, or should I door knock instead? Should I decide to do expires? Should I call just past clients? Should I do that mailing, or should I do postcards? Like, we clutter our world with so much decision, and I promise you that leads to decision fatigue, which leads to what? Lack of agency, which leads lack to the pathway, which means my goal is all fuzzy. Amazing. Learned at Auschwitz, right? An amazing life lesson for us. But when we stick with that commitment, not only does it free us up from decision fatigue, it also enables us to get the results of sticking to a commitment. And what happens? What happens when we stick to a commitment that we made to ourselves? Well, one of the greatest things happens for our business and for just our personal emotional health. Every commitment that you stick to, right, is this brick that we lay down in front of us, and a brick that maybe it's a really small line, and we need to get to 10. And then we get to 11. Now we're stacking the second line of bricks. And then we keep on committing to ourselves. And every day that we do what we said we were going to do, I don't care about what you told someone else you were going to do. I care about what you told yourself you were going to do based on your clear goal and the pathway and the agency. Every day is this brick. And we're cementing these bricks in this wall of confidence that, hey, I'm a person that shows up and does what I said I was going to do. It doesn't mean that the result is going to be there on the first brick or the third brick or the 7th brick or the 11th brick or heck, even the 46th brick. But here's what happens when the result doesn't show up right away and we begin doubting the pathway, and then we doubt the fact that what I'm doing is working, then we give away our agency. It's as massively important for us to just stick with it and continue down that path because we told ourselves we were going to. Once you commit, you must go through the process of learning how to fulfill that commitment. And when you do, there will always be benefits and freedoms that come from it, right? Freedom from self-doubt, freedom from, like, there's so many freedoms. So if I'm going back to an equation, then that GPS that I hope every single one of us has, it doesn't matter what our role in our world, that GPS is your freedom, because it reminds you every single day. I look at my GPS every day. It reminds me every day what the main goal is of this organization, of this company, of this business, of this practice, of this team, of this role, of this job. Like, it doesn't matter, right? This is my GPS. This is my goal. This is the one priority I have this year. These are the 2, no more than 3. These are the 3 priorities that I have. And this is the strategy. I'm going to get there. And I've already looked at this. I've already committed and said, yeah, I can live up to this. I can meet these I can do these strategies. If you have not committed to a GPS this year, I promise it's going to be a messy year. It means that you're let me go backwards. If you have committed to a GPS this year, it means that you have very strong hope expectancy, right? That expectancy theory. Some call it hope theory, and some call it the expectancy theory. But see, if we committed, then we are expecting, we are expecting for certain things to happen. We need that. But if you have not committed to the GPS, Every single one of your offices has a coach that would be dying to sit down with you and work through that with you, right? Set up an appointment. Like, it's why they are there, right? It's also why we may need that, right? It's why we may need that support. Like, it is an undeniable need for us to work off of a very, very clear goal, priority, and strategy. And when we do, right, we will set ourselves up to be able to commit way easier to ourselves. We will have agency, and it's interesting. Many of us realize that when we don't have a clear goal, or we don't have, right, that pathway, or we don't have agency in our personal life, what happens in our business? It bleeds over. But interestingly enough, for as much time as we spend in our business, friends, like, it bleeds over into our personal life as well. If we don't have a clear goal, and we don't have a pathway, and we don't have agency, it shows up at home. It shows up with our friends. Like, we start missing commitments to ourselves and our business. We'll start missing commitments to our friends and our family and our kids. Like, I actually think that's what an integrated life is about. So, my message today is be willing, right? Be willing to commit. Make commitments to yourself. Look at that GPS, pull it back out. Some of us are halfway done. Like, it's January 12th. It's not too late. Like, dial that in. Like, look at that and say, I got this. Like, this is the right pathway, and these are the these are the right strategies, and I have agency over it. And if you're struggling, there are people in this organization, myself included, that would gladly spend the time needed and invest the time needed in having every single one of our partners and agents have agency over the pathway that they chose on the way to choosing their goal, because that's what brokerage is for. Brokerage is here to be a platform for you to say, yep, I know what my goals are. I have some pathways here within this community, and I have agency because I have the tools available and the systems available to help me get there. So with that, let's make some commitments this year. And I appreciate everyone coming. Leslie, Katie, anything else?
Thank you guys so much for joining us for a powerful start to 2022. We dropped some resources in the chat. Remember that we will send a wrap-up email as well. Jake, thank you for bringing attention that Katie Hardman is teaching GPS and 411 on January 25th. And also a huge shout out to our productivity coaches who launched Accelerate Coaching. Please reach out to your PC coaches, to your team leaders, and our leadership team across the network. We are here to help support you in hitting your 2022 goals. Thank you guys. And remember, we will see you every second Wednesday of the month for our State of the Industry. Have a powerful day and a powerful year.
Thank you all.